Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the incredible story of television, from what was basically a wild dream in a scientist's notebook, all the way to the high-definition screen you're probably carrying around in your pocket right now. So let's go back for a second. At the turn of the 20th century, the whole idea of seeing at a distance, what we call television, was pure science fiction. I mean, this quote from 1907 says it all. It was just a theory, a concept that sounded as out there as flying cars or teleportation. But here's the crazy part. In less than 100 years, that science fiction became an inescapable reality. And just look at this timeline. The pace of change was just relentless, from the first fuzzy public demo to widespread color in under 40 years. And then from that golden age of broadcast to streaming taking over in just 50 more. It's astonishing, really. Okay, so let's dive into how this all started, because the early days, they weren't some smooth, straight line of progress. Nope, it was a chaotic, brilliant, and super competitive race between two totally different ideas on how to actually capture and send images through the air. And this really gets to the heart of that early conflict. On one side, you had mechanical TV. Just try to picture this, a spinning disc with holes punched in it, scanning an image line by line by line. It was super clever, for sure. But the picture was really low-res, only about 30 lines. But on the other side, you had this all-electronic approach using a cathode-ray tube. And that, well, that had the potential for a much, much sharper future. And this whole battle really came down to some passionate, brilliant inventors. In the mechanical corner, you had Logie Baird. He famously had to use a ventriloquist's dummy, this creepy-looking thing named Stooky Bill, for his first broadcasts because human faces just didn't have enough contrast for his system. Then, in the electronic corner, there was this young farm boy from Utah, Philo Farnsworth. In 1927, he transmitted the first purely electronic image. And what was it? A single, straight line. Now, that doesn't sound like much, right? But it was everything. It proved that electricity, not spinning wheels, was the future. So after World War II, electronic television just absolutely exploded. I mean, it moved out of the inventor's lab and planted itself right in the middle of the living room. It pretty quickly became this central force in daily life for millions and millions of people. Just how central are we talking? Well, this number says it all. By 2013, nearly 4 out of every 5 households on the entire planet owned a television set. Think about that. It became one of the most successful consumer products in all of human history. And it was so much more than just an entertainment box. It was a cultural unifier. For the very first time, entire nations could share the exact same experience at the exact same time, watching a moon landing or a presidential debate or the finale of a show everyone loved. It created this monoculture, this shared set of references and conversations that's honestly a lot harder to find in today's fragmented media world. So the big question, how was all of this funded? Well, it pretty much boiled down to 3 main economic engines. You had the American model, which was funded by ads. Then you had the subscription model, where you paid directly for channels. And finally, there was the public license model, like the BBC in the UK. And what's really fascinating is that these same 3 models are pretty much still shaping what we all watch today. But that era of, just 3 or 4 networks broadcasting to everyone at the same time, well, it was destined to end. Technology was about to kick off this massive power shift, taking control away from the broadcasters and putting it directly into your hands, into the hands of the viewer. And this evolution here, it shows that transfer of power so clearly. I mean, we started with broadcast, or what you might call appointment viewing. You had to be there on Thursday at 8 p.m., or you just missed out. Then cable and satellite came along and gave us choice. Then home video with the VCR and later the DVR. That gave us time shifting. And finally, streaming. That delivered total control. Watch anything, anywhere, anytime you want. The final piece of this whole revolution was, of course, the smart TV. It stopped being just a screen and it became a computer. It seamlessly merged the internet and the television set, making streaming services the default and completing that journey to total viewer control. So as television grew from this simple device into a dominant cultural force, it became pretty clear that we needed to understand it on a much deeper level. A whole new academic field actually popped up dedicated to studying the profound impact it was having on all of our lives. Right. Scholars started asking bigger questions. It wasn't just about what shows were popular, it was about how the medium itself actually worked. What was its function in society? And maybe most importantly, what effect was it having on us as individuals and as a whole culture? And this led to a few different ways of looking at TV. Some people treat it like journalism, reviewing and critiquing shows. Others analyze it like literature, breaking down these complex narratives as if they were novels. And then social scientists examine its larger role, how it shapes society and how we, the audience, interact with it. And that brings us right up to today. We've gone from one flickering box in the living room to a high-definition screen in every single hand. The physical TV set is actually becoming less important, but the act of watching television is more integrated into our lives than ever before. Which it leaves us with a final thought, right? In a world of infinite content, what does the next evolution of television even look like? What are we watching next?